Hey, this is Amanda Lease Love, and if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson.
Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson. We're at episode 196 with my awesome sauce friend, Amanda Elise Love. We're going to talk about something that I was totally flying blind about with fibromyalgia. Amanda has to deal with that on a daily basis. There is no cure, but she's found, for a lack of a better term, some hacks that makes it palatable. I can never say that word, but she makes it to where you can live with it and live a lifestyle of health and wealth and just a great mindset. So if you're dealing with fibromyalgia or if you're just looking to really level up, you must listen to this episode. Take great notes and just sit back, relax, because here comes my really good friend, Amanda Elise Love, a rock star holistic nutritionist. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and I am flying blind when it comes to my next guest, the amazing Amanda Elise Love. She is going to bring us to the awareness of fibromyalgia, something that I don't know too much, if at all, about. So I'm so ready for this interview, and I'm telling you, you are too. I mean, because there's, from just a little incy-bincy piece of research that I did, it can be some hidden things that can be misdiagnosed and stuff like that. We're going to get into that with my good friend Amanda. She is 30 years old, and she's registered holistic nutritionist. She did a lot of traveling when she was a kid. And when she means by traveling, she made a lot of trips to the doctors trying to figure out what was going on in her life. Finally, like me, I go to a chiropractor. I'm always talking about chiropractic care and how it helps me level up daily. She found a chiropractor that helped her understand what was going on. She started to feel immensely better after integrating, the natural nutrition. And from that, she turned it into getting her diploma and became a registered holistic nutritionist. So I am so stoked because I'm flying blind about fibromyalgia. I'm sure a lot of other people are out there too. They just think it's this big, cool sounding word. But Amanda's going to bring us to light to that. So Amanda, welcome to the Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. I want you to introduce yourself to us, but first, what is your favorite color and why?
My favorite color is red.
Okay.
And I just love the color.
Yeah? Are you fiery like red?
No.
Well, it's in your color wheel. It would look great on you.
It looks good on me, so that's probably why.
I love it. So Amanda, let's get to the origins a little bit. I tried to a little bit, but there's such a path that you traveled. And I really, really want to get into that and the pain that you felt, and then finally kind of getting to the point of having some relief. Because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's really no cure, quote unquote. I'm doing that in air quotes if you're lilistening to fibromyalgia, correct?
No, and I can't. And when I work with people, I never say I can cure you or I can't diagnose you. That's out of my scope of what I do.
Right.
But you can get better through nutrition and supplements and lifestyle changes. I believe.
Love it. I love it. So let's get to that origin story, please.
Yeah. So my origin story actually started, I was born 6 weeks early. And I was constantly sick every 4 to 6 weeks. I was constantly had sinus infections. I was put on the antibiotics. My blood work would come back normal, like so many people in life with any health condition. It doesn't have to be fibromyalgia. And I completed high school and I went into personal training, and that was 6 months, 500 hours. And then right after that, I turned 20 and I got, all of a sudden, I couldn't get off the couch. I was in so much pain. I was so fatigued. I had so many headaches. And I would go to the gym and I started to come home and I was just start crashing and taking these 2-hour naps. And I was like, okay, what should I do? And eventually 10 months later, I found I went to the rheumatology and they said, oh, you have fibromyalgia. And I was only 20 years old.
Amanda, is rheumatology like the arthritis doctor?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
The arthritis doctor. But
But what made you go to a rheumatologist? Like, it was just like, oh crap, I got to check the boxes and just to see where it's
Yeah,
going.
I think it was checking the boxes. I had a grandma who was a nurse, so she probably was the one who came up with that idea.
Do they think it has anything to do about you being born earlier, prematurely?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
They say it could be. They don't really know. They say a lot of times if you look up online, they'll say, oh, it could be a trauma. Maybe you had a childhood trauma. Maybe you were in a car accident.
Wow.
So
even like a PTSD can kind of lead to fibromyalgia in a sense.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. That's the problem, is we don't have enough research, right?
Wow.
And
okay.
in the US, they're actually cutting the research for fibromyalgia.
Okay. So, wow. That's crazy. So, okay. So let's kind of get into some of the symptoms that people might experience with fibromyalgia. If you could drop some of those in.
So I always say the big three are extreme fatigue, like you can't get off the couch. It's constant. I always tell people it's not just like a little fatigue that comes around and stuff. It's always going. I always say extreme pain. So this is pain down your neck, your shoulders, your arms, your legs. It's not like pain in one area.
Gotcha.
Like
so it radiates everywhere.
It radiates everywhere. Okay. It's not like something like you stubbed your toe or you sprained your ankle. It's pain that's constant and it's excruciating. It's so excruciating that you can't even take a shower. Or if you take a shower, it exhausts you.
Wow.
And then I always say sleep is a huge thing. Either people can't fall asleep, they can't stay asleep, or I always say you feel like a truck has hit you because you're not getting that deep, restful REM sleep that you need. Those are usually the top three things. And then there's, of course, other things too with it.
Gotcha. So is the fibro fog real? Again, I Googled this.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about that. I'm thinking that like people just kind of sit there and they're almost like paralyzed because of the pain they're going through, no sleep. So their neurological is not going firing.
Yeah. So I would say that would be number 4, would be brain fog. You can't. I remember I couldn't really focus and stuff. You're just never quite able to do like anything. Okay. Mentally, right?
Right.
So that's a big thing too. So then that depresses you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, that depression has got to be a key factor in this because, you know, you were a personal trainer and you were living an active lifestyle. You're intaking what needed to intake to level you up. And still you were going through the pain, the fatigue, and the insomnia, if you will. So what was your first step after you're diagnosed?
Yeah.
And kind of move forward.
Yeah. So honestly, my first step was exactly what everybody does, is listen to the doctor, right? And you go, and it's sad, but that's how our life is.
Sure. Right.
And so the only thing they said was either you go on the medication. So I would Cymbalta or Lyrica are the 2 medications that are usually people are put on, and they are depressant medications. And I only stayed on it for like 2 days because I was like, I'm not staying on this the rest of my life. It made me nauseous, lightheaded, and I was like, I'm not doing this.
You're like a zombie, right? You weren't motivated. No. You might alleviate some of the symptoms, right? But you're like, what's the quality of life with that, right?
Yeah, and it didn't do anything for the pain. It didn't do anything for the fatigue. And a lot of people with fibromyalgia tell me it doesn't help them with those things.
Okay.
But they still stay on them. That's the problem.
Gotcha.
Right.
Wow.
Stay on medications, even though we don't know if they're really helping us or not.
Right. And I do see them. I like to watch my sports on the weekend. I see a lot of the drugs. I've heard a couple of those drugs and like during the commercials. and stuff like that. And like some of the side effects are diarrhea, heartburn, death. It's like, really? I mean, so that's why I wanted to kind of transition this into a more holistic conversation.
Yeah.
And what you do and what you did yourself, and then what you would encourage other people to do if they were diagnosed with the fibromyalgia.
Yeah. So honestly, I did the physical therapy. They do say you should do it for like a couple months. I mean, I did the weight training, I did the swimming, and I was coming out crying. And I was like, this is so silly. I had just completed a personal training program 10 months before. And it's like, okay, what's next? Right. And then the only thing that was was right next to the physical therapy was a pain management thing.
Right.
So I did do the pain management, and what they did is shoot a huge needle into your back, 13 trigger points. So that's how they diagnose you with fibromyalgia.
Okay.
Is they touch your neck, your back, and if you're like screeching in pain, or they'll probably say you have it.
Okay.
So it's really not the greatest test, but
you know what? I'm not laughing at you. I'm like just thinking because
it's just what
I'm not a big fan of pain.
It's sort of like, and so when I did the pain management, my blood sugar was crashing. I'd have to have juice. I would have to have the cookies to bring it back up, right? And so for me personally, I was like, I'm not doing 3 treatments.
Right.
With the pain management.
Wow.
Because I was crying because it was so painful. It was the most excruciating thing I've ever done. And so the following year, a couple months later, that's when I found the wellness chiropractor, because my grandma found a little newspaper clipping, said wellness talk by a wellness chiropractor. And she went to the talk, and he said, well, if your granddaughter's been diagnosed with fibromyalgia at the age of 20, she's been very sick a very long time.
Long time, right.
And a light bulb went off in my grandma's head, and she thought, oh, he really gets it. And so, that's
the story.
A big thing.
Yeah. Like chiropractic, does it help alleviate with some of the fibromyalgia? And how often do you see your chiropractor?
I actually did the chiropractic I only worked with him for 8 months.
Okay.
So I didn't stick with it.
Okay.
But he did the elimination diet thing. He tested me for all the food sensitivities. Found out I had 2 genes predisposed me to that gluten sensitivity.
Okay.
By both parents, the highest in his practice at the time. And this has actually this will hit 10 years this year.
Okay.
And he found out I had soy sensitivity, egg sensitivity, dairy sensitivity.
Wow.
So all those foods were affecting how my health was.
Okay.
Right. And so I did elimination diet, which means cutting out all those foods, cutting out all the nightshades, cutting out and just going back to the basics: fruits, vegetables, grains, gluten-free. And
stuff that was available to the caveman, right?
I feel like we all should get back to eating that way.
Yeah. And I think I even saw on your social that 80% of the food that's out there was not even available to our cavemen. So kind of stay natural in what you could walk along and graze on out in the wilderness, in a sense, right? That really help with it. Okay. All right.
Yeah. You always should stay away from the gluten. There's so much gluten-free products, but they're really, they're not the greatest.
Right.
It's the it's the end thing to do. And someone told me the other day, they said, well, I was off gluten for 6 weeks. You might have to be off gluten for longer.
Sure.
To see, because I always tell people one little molecule of gluten can stay in your body for up to weeks, up to months.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go gluten-free, which people don't want to do, you have to do it strictly.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to stay strict and committed to it, correct?
You have to stay committed. And I always say gluten-free might be one of the answers, but you might have to get off of all those other foods first.
Gotcha. Right. Just like you said, elimination diet, process of elimination. And if you add something in and you're starting to feel the effects. Okay. I gotcha. So what foods have you found outside of gluten that people with the fibromyalgia should really stay away from?
Dairy.
Okay.
Is a big one. I feel like if you have a lot of immune issues, you really should stop with the dairy and stuff. I think, and there's substitutes out there nowadays. There's so much. I mean, it's crazy how much it's changed just in the last 10 years since I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Right.
Like how much products that there are out there that you can substitute for things.
Gotcha.
Right. I mean, dairy, there's dairy-free milks. The dairy-free cheese is not that great, honestly.
Right.
But I mean, your body starts getting used to these foods.
Right.
So then you don't miss the stuff. And I mean,
we're not built for that food anyways, the processed food. We're not built for ancestry, right?
No, but if you're going to have whatever you want to have, there are options.
Yeah.
If you want those options.
So you don't feel like it's taken over your life in a sense of, so you have some freedom, you have options. That's fantastic. Yeah. So let's move forward into you're helping people now.
Yeah.
With it. And like, how do you get your clients? So maybe the listeners out there can refer people to you. Like, what is like, if I'm at a networking event or talking virtually, like, what am I listening for that would make them a great introduction, possible client for Amanda?
So if they've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, that would be a great start.
Sure.
Right. I think if people are complaining of fatigue, pain, and sleep, and it's continuous for at least 3 months, and they're not getting any relief, right?
Right.
I think a lot of people don't get diagnosed with fibromyalgia until they're like 50s, 60s.
Right.
So
they live with it a lot of their life too, right?
Yeah, they live with it and a lot of them tell me, well, I think I had it in my 20s and 30s, right? But they're not getting diagnosed. So you could always just send them over to my website.
Sure.
Or my podcast, and they could look at me and learn a little bit about what I do.
That's at AmandaEliseLove.com, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So Amanda, we're going to kind of transition to a little bit about you as well right now, because I know our listeners want to know it, so they'll know you a little bit as we move forward. So are you familiar with the movie Back to the Future? With Michael J. Fox? Okay. Dude goes back in time, right? So I want you to get in that DeLorean with us, and let's go back into the 20-year-old Amanda. What kind of knowledge nuggets, we call them knowledge nuggets here, okay? What kind of knowledge nuggets are you dropping on her to maybe shorten her learning curve, level up, and blast through life?
I would say go the natural route.
I love that answer. I love that answer, because that's something that if I went back, I'm almost 50, I take care of myself. But, if I went back, my diet would be a hell of a lot different than it is right now. I would stay a lot natural. Like right now, I live in South Florida, so we have access to all the fresh seafood. We have access to everything here because stuff never really dies. So thank you for answering it like that. So how do you want your dash remembered then? That little line between your incarnation date and your expiration date, the life date and death date. How do you want Amanda's dash remembered?
That I never gave up.
Okay.
In life, and I kept going, and that serving people with fibromyalgia is my biggest in my life.
That is, I was going to add that for you if you didn't say it, honey. I was going to be like, you never gave up, you kept going, but I helped as many people along the way.
Yeah.
That, this
that's
disease.
Honestly, that's what keeps me going.
Love it. So, man, who's had, I'll go this route. What keeps you up at night now? Outside of fibromyalgia. Let's go mentally. What keeps you up?
What keeps me up at night? Nothing really.
No, that's good. I think that you're always looking to serve. That's what I'm hearing. I'm looking at your social. You're always putting out fantastic content. And Squad, all of that information will be in the show notes for you to go find Amanda. That she puts out great stuff. She's interviewed by awesome people. She interviews awesome people. It's awesome. So who's had the most profound impact in your life?
Oh, that's easy. My grandmother.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew you could say, because she's the one that's like, something's not right here. We need to get you fixed. I love it.
Yeah. She was the one who took me to all my doctor's appointments. She's been my biggest supporter, growing my business. She would listen to every single podcast that I was on.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to hit 1 year next month in March. And I've almost done 50 interviews and stuff. So the thing is, she was my biggest support, and I just lost her last.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
I know this is honestly the last 6 months. I think everybody should have at least a few people in their life that support them.
That's why you're such a big heart. I think a lot of that grandma rubbed off on you.
It's totally true.
How about, let's go the other way. What's the worst advice you've ever been given?
The worst advice I've ever been given. I think, I don't know. I don't really
take medication.
Take medication probably would be the worst. Dude, pain management was
right.
I mean, that's the worst advice. I try to not listen to advice that has to do with the medical field anymore. Right.
I know. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Unless I think I told you off camera or off live that, I dealt with a sinus infection for like 9 days until finally Susan, my lady, was like, go to the doctor. And I did. And within 2 days, it's cleared up. So there is medical marvels that actually work.
Yeah, there is.
But pain, I don't know, man. Yoga is my jam. Believe it or not, I'm 265 pounds, but I'm through 3/4 primary, the Ashtanga yoga. And it's changed my life. It's taken away so much of my inflammation because I play, I was, veteran in the military and then, played combat sports my whole life too. So it's helped out so much. So let's take our computer out of it. Okay. Anything electronic. What's 3 things that Amanda cannot live without?
What can I not live without? My dogs.
Yay.
Family and friends.
Love it. You are so community oriented. That's why you're so successful with this. Yeah. So, Amanda, what is your definition of a life well lived?
So for me personally, it's serving people with fibromyalgia, but if it's whatever is your life mission is what you should be doing in your life.
So live your passion, live your mission,
I want you to live your passion.
That's amazing.
Whatever that is.
And hey, we are back with my friend Amanda Elise Love, who you must get in touch with if you're dealing with fibromyalgia, and all that information will be in the show notes. But right now, we are going to move into our leveling up lightning round. And Miss Amanda, you and I could talk for an hour on each one of these, okay?
Okay.
5 seconds. No explanation.
Okay.
All of them can be answered quickly, my love, okay?
Got it.
And I just said my love. That's your last name. Rock on.
Yep.
Here we go. Ready to level up?
Yep.
Here we go. What's the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Don't give up.
Yes. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Working out.
Yeah. Other than your own website, Amanda Elise Love, and of course, Time to Shine Today, my shameless plug. What other website do you like to go to, Amanda, to level up?
Maddie Lonston.
Okay, I'll elaborate a little bit. I'll give you 5 seconds to elaborate. What's it about?
I was just on his podcast back in November. His podcast is How to Not Get Sick and Die.
Love it. I have to check that out. I'm going to put that in the show notes too. Amanda, if I'm in my doldrums, just not feeling it, you notice it. What book are you handing me? Fergie, read this.
Staying Healthy with Nutrition.
Love it. What's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
The laughing emoji.
Upside or sideways or upways?
Upways.
Upways. Got it. And if you could stay physically one age for the rest of your life, keep the wisdom you have now and continue to garner wisdom, what age would that be physically?
Physically?
Mm-hmm.
I guess right now, 31.
I always say 32, and I'm coming up on 50, so I'd rewind it back.
I wouldn't go back to my 20s.
Right, we all do, but like 31, 32, it's like you kind of have stuff figured out and you still feel good. You know what I'm saying? It's like I understand what you're going through, but physically, I mean, I'm like I said, I progressed through life through yoga and working out myself and a lot on the ocean, but that's awesome. So what is your favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time or money to?
I would say anything having to do with like my church and stuff.
Love it. Where do you attend?
Prescott Heights.
Okay, Prescott Heights. Nice.
Heights.
All right, well, awesome. So last question, you can elaborate a little bit on this one, but what is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Well, I have to go with the 90s.
Your 90s baby.
The 90s baby. And
I love it. I was in 89 though, weren't you?
No, I was 1990.
Oh, were you 1990? Well, I graduated high school in 1990. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I was really into the boy bands, so.
Okay, awesome. Like the NSYNCs and the Backstreet Boys. Quietly in the closet, I was the same way. I like my boy band, so I could break out some "I Want It That Way," by Backstreet.
And honestly, it's still good.
It's still good. I love it. So Amanda, how can we find you on?
So my website's Amanda Elise Love, and I'm either on Facebook or Instagram, and that's also Amanda Elise Love. So
I love it. And get over to Amanda Elise Love. She has an awesome cover page here. Looks like you can opt right into her, and she'll actually give you tips if you have fibromyalgia. If you know somebody that has fibromyalgia, direct them to Amanda Elise Love. Check the show notes below and direct them there. And she looks like she has a sleep fix for those suffering from fibromyalgia. So please go there. And if you are dealing with fibromyalgia, or you know somebody that you think may be dealing with it or is dealing with it, please get a hold of Time to Shine Today. I will make a personal warm introduction to Miss Amanda Elise, who just carved out time and gave us a free masterclass. And again, something I was flying blind about fibromyalgia. If you're experiencing extreme fatigue, extreme pain, can't sleep, or that brain fog, get diagnosed. Go talk to somebody that knows what they're going to be looking for. And Amanda had to go do a lot of traveling. I love the way that she wrote that, but she had to travel the doctor a lot. And luckily she had her grandma that really believed in her and believed that there's something wrong and took it and got her diagnosed. And so she can start working. She wants to even if you don't have fibromyalgia, do an elimination diet. See what you need to stay away from. She's going to recommend staying away from gluten, dairy, stuff that is not in the perimeter of our grocery stores. Stay away from the processed junk, people. I'll just say shit. Stay away from the processed shit. Go natural. She's somebody that's never given up. She keeps going, and she's always serving people. And especially with the fibromyalgia, she wants to help you. Please let us put you in touch with Miss Amanda. And her mission to you guys is just live your passion. Do what you love every day. And like we say at Time to Shine Today, we do what we love in the service of people that love what we do. And that's what Amanda does. She's so humble, yet so hungry. She's a survivor, but also a thriver. She's always leveling up her health, wealth, and mindset. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on Time to Shine Today. The knowledge nuggets you dropped are priceless. It's going to help so many people, and we love you for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Scott, for having me.
You bet. Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast, proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.